I always record these meetings. Almost forgot. Well, again, appreciate you coming in. I'm going to share my screen for a second so that way you can see the agenda for today. Oh, let me let students in from the lobby. Let me turn on my chat box as well so I can see the chat. Go. Let's see, hopefully there's no one else in the lobby. All right. So just to give you the rundown on my last agenda as a full-time teacher here, we're going to talk a little bit as we always do each week, what's going on with the market, and then I thought I'd have a special agenda item because I know that every week on the agendas they're student-driven, where we always talk about topics that all the moneymakers want to suggest. But today I decided to pick the topic myself and talk about things I've learned in personal finance that worked. And then as I always like to tell you guys, especially those that have been my students before, I always like to share some of the things that I buy and invest in. And of course, it always evolves. But at least I want to give you guys up to date. So in case you want to check it out, do your due diligence and see if maybe you'd like to put some money in it too. Why not? Because again, everything changes. So without further ado, hopefully everyone's in that's going to be in. But I'll keep an eye on the screen in case I need to let anyone in from the lobby. I should have turned that off when I set the link. Well, again, welcome. For those of you that haven't been here before, this is the Moneymakers Club. This is FSCJ's officially chartered investment club, officially chartered with the college. December of 2019. So it's been a while, and it was created by students for students. My students asked me to be the club sponsor back then, which happened to be just the year before COVID, and I agreed, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to sponsor this particular club, considering this is what I teach and this is also what I do on my own as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So we are a student-driven club, no fees, no dues, and all the topics we talk about are student-driven, meaning that they choose what we talk about every month. And just to bring you up to speed, those of you that haven't been to a meeting before, yes, I'm the club sponsor. They'll probably get another club sponsor after I leave officially at the end of this term as a full-time professor. I just hired a new finance professor, and he seems great and enthusiastic, and maybe we can convince him to take over the club. So otherwise, we'll find someone to take over the club. In the meantime, I'm still gonna contact you guys when I'm on the road. Also, for those of you that didn't know already, although most of my students do, I'm currently a digital nomad, which I have been since July 1st of last year when I sold my home and most stuff that I own, and I'm location independent. So I've been traveling several different cities and countries around the world, and in 19 days I'll be heading back out on the road. So pivoting, heading south this time, going to hit Mexico and Panama, and then eventually Buenos Aires, Argentina. Then I'll hop a boat to Europe, and then from there, haven't got stuff booked yet, but I'm planning to stay at some friends' houses in Spain, and then from there head east. So eventually Europe, and then back to Southeast Asia for 2027. So what's going on with the market? Always like to keep you up to date. I always like to tell my students that you should always be market aware. I always look at the news a little differently than most people. Sure, I love the fluff, but I usually don't let like fluff or politics affect me personally. I really only have an interest when it affects my investments. So then that's when I pay attention. Earnings season is ending. So the quarterly earnings season, which represents April, May, and June. So all the quarterly earnings for companies have been putting out the reports, and about 90% of the companies have reported. So there's just a handful left. All the big boys have reported already, and a lot of stocks have gone up more so than they've gone down after earnings. So earnings have exceeded expectations, and a lot of stocks have reacted by share prices going up, which is pretty good. I think the last big boy earnings report that I'm looking forward to is at around the end of this month, and that's Nvidia, which for most of the last year has been the biggest company in the world. So they're waiting for that one coming out. I think that's around the last week of August. So I'm hoping that their earnings are going to blow out. I think the last time that they had either their revenue or their earnings number, I think they almost doubled it from the previous year. So expectations are high. Oh, Brittany's coming in. Let me let her in. All right. Welcome, Brittany. Welcome, everybody. Glad you can make it. So back to Nvidia. Over the years, Nvidia actually has become my biggest holding, and that's just only due to share price growth. So I actually started buying Nvidia since I'm a gamer. I love video games. I bought Nvidia stock when it was when their biggest product was video cards, trying to make some of the sharpest looking video game cards. Oh, hey, Brittany. That's totally okay. I'm glad you made it. So enjoy what we're sharing today at the club. So Nvidia, again, great company. They are really at the forefront of artificial intelligence chips that are used by a lot of the biggest companies, self-driving cars, storage. So Nvidia is, and they still have a gaming market. It's just not the largest part of their revenue anymore. What else is going on in the market? Inflation numbers just came out 8:30 this morning, and market is looking positively on that. There was about a 0.1% rise in inflation over the last month, and on an annualized basis, it comes out to about 3.4%. Still high. I know it doesn't sound high considering only about four or 5 years ago we had inflation up to 9%, but that's still high. It's higher than the target percentage that the Federal Reserve wants to see. So they're still trying to figure out how they're going to combat that without messing with the economy. And it's kind of tough, and I don't envy their job, because generally the playbook is if an economy is weak, like ours seems to not be as going strong right now due to, especially with employment, usually in the playbook is to lower interest rates, but they can't do that right now because inflation is high. Because the playbook when inflation is high is to raise interest rates to try to suck out extra cash out of the economy, so that way the value of the dollar rises. So they're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, or as in the new movie The Odyssey, Scylla and Charybdis. So what is the Federal Reserve going to do? The last meeting this past month, they decided to keep interest rates unchanged, meaning that they're going to hold pat, because I think they're kind of puzzled. There is actually a dispute in votes between all the members of the Board of Governors. A few members voted to increase rates. A few members voted to stay pat. I don't know if anyone voted to lower interest rates, although the Federal Reserve Chair himself, before he got assigned the Federal Reserve Chair, he himself said that he wanted to lower interest rates to try to get the market going, to try to get the economy going again. But I think that he sees it's more prudent not to right now because we don't want to go back to high inflation again. So there's that risk. So when the market, when the Federal Reserve meets in September, there may be a greater chance they might actually raise interest rates. That would have been the first time they raised interest rates since the COVID recovery, basically. All right. So next thing we're going to pivot to is a little more of a personal topic for me, but because I'm so passionate with personal finance and teaching you guys to build wealth on your own without having to pay someone else to do it, I wanted to tell you from someone who's been working since I was 13 years old, hustling with work, uh, just some of the things that over time kind of got to me to where I am, or kind of developed the mindset that I've had since I started working. But there's something when I give talks to groups out in the community or student groups at school, I usually have a slide on there that says the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time to plant a tree is now. And that comes from an old Chinese proverb. Basically, the point is never wait to start investing. So for those of you that are out there that haven't started investing, uh, there shouldn't be anything stopping you other than not having any money. But again, you don't need a lot of money to start. You just got to start and let time do all the heavy lifting for you. How did I get started investing? Well, my mom was my inspiration. She bought me a book called Time is Money, and it's a little short book. And the book was actually written by a mom to teach basic investing in like index funds for her son to get started early. She wrote it for her son. And so my mom bought it, I read it, and I just got hooked. And I started with index funds in my first retirement account when I was working a little part-time job when I was in school. But then that evolved in me getting interested in individual stocks when I was a student in school. And I bought just 10 shares of Microsoft with my part-time night job money. So I learned a couple things. One, you don't need a lot of money to start. I mean, yes, $1,500 is a lot of money, but again, I saved and scrimped that for my part-time night job and bought the 10 shares. It was $150 each. But the other thing that I learned was when you're buying stock to invest in, just buy quality. It shouldn't matter how much the shares cost if you're buying a company that, at least at that time, I knew what was making products that people are going to buy regardless. Of course, I liked Xbox, but I also knew that Microsoft Windows and Excel was used everywhere at the time, so they weren't going out of business anytime soon. So I was pretty confident that that stock was going to make it, buying those shares. And I got my haircut yesterday, and my barber, who really didn't know too much about investing other than like penny stocks and meme stocks, I told him, well, I'd rather buy like one share of Microsoft than like 1,000 shares of some penny stock where you might lose your money in a few weeks. And that's primarily due to liquidity. There's just not as many shares bought and sold each day, so it's hard to get a fair price for that. Another thing that I learned, and this is something that I've observed with a lot of younger students, is that, and I'm on TikTok. I love putting TikTok videos out there. But one thing culturally is that instant gratification is too easy to fall for. I usually don't fall for it. So I've been working since I was 13, and even when I was in high school, I worked in a flea market as my first job, and I saved up my weekend job money, and I proudly purchased my own stereo system. It took me weeks, but it was worth it because I worked for it. I didn't uh, put it on credit. I didn't borrow for it. I saved it, and I bought it when I had the cash. And that was a habit that has served me very well. So the point is, people lose the opportunity to buy back their time by fulfilling instant gratification now. Oftentimes, by giving into instant gratification, you spend more than you should. There's a term that's come around in recent years called lifestyle inflation, and that's a real thing, which will bring me to my next point in a second, that income and wealth are not the same thing. So then there's been there's been books about this, and studies where I used to teach personal finance for a nonprofit here in Jacksonville, where they gave credit counseling and folks that were having trouble with their budgets, or had declared bankruptcy, or had problems with debt collections. And so one of the requirements for folks to get that credit counseling was they had to take personal finance classes. And so one of my side gigs was to teach those classes. And there were households of clients in that program making six figures, but then they end up living paycheck to paycheck. Conversely, you could have a modest household income that can achieve $1 million in retirement wealth simply through savings and persistence. And just from my own personal experience, all of my full-time salaries over my current job and previous careers, none of them made six figures. I mean, I was a middle school teacher making half what I was when I was head of a department in government finance. But I had a vision to teach college, and I followed through with it, with taking the educational steps to get my credentials to get there. Collectively, I've made six figures in certain years, but that was mostly due to trading and passive dividends. It takes a while to get there, but the point here is you can build wealth on an average salary. You don't have to make as much money as you think to get there and buy your time back. Another thing I want to share that I learned over time is when I'm investing and trading, I am always mechanical and not emotional. And it is tough not to be emotional when you're investing. So follow the playbook that you set. Everybody's playbook's different, but when I make decisions on trades, and I was trading this morning before this meeting today, getting my trades in, redeploying capital from some winning trades that I did this morning, because I don't usually like cash sitting around. Be like Mr. Spock, for those of you that know who that is, or just be robotic. It's not easy, but you can train your mind to not be emotional when it comes to investing. That mindset can make it easier. You're not always going to be 100% successful either. It's another mindset. There are times when you're going to lose, but if you know how to know when to cut your losses and get out, it's tough, because emotionally it hurts more to lose money than it feels good to win money. And so that's human behavior. That's challenging. You're not going to be 100% successful. But what I do is, when I have trades that lose or investments that lose money, then I consider those mistakes paying tuition for learning. So that way you don't do it again. If you know how to get out, cut your losses on time, then you can come back and make that back. And again, this isn't a term that I created. It's time in the market and not timing. So for long-term investing, and that has been true for decades. Another little more specific thing, dollar cost averaging works. So whenever I get my first paycheck at the beginning of the month, then I'll put in, say, $100 into Meta, or $100 into Alphabet, or $100 into Amazon, depending on which two I feel for that particular month. But if you put it into the same stock around the same time every paycheck or every month, or as long as the timing is the same, the dollar amount is the same, what that does, it takes luck and it takes timing out of the equation. You don't have to worry about trying to time it. You don't have to worry about getting the best price, because if the dollar amount's the same, the time is the same. If the stock happens to be higher that particular time, totally okay. that means you buy less shares when they're more expensive. And if the stock happens to be down at that same time in the month or in that paycheck time, then great. You get to buy more shares when they're cheaper. So over time, the average price you pay is always going to be lower than what the actual price is on the market. So that's what dollar cost averaging does. The key is, as long as nothing has fundamentally changed about why you wanted to buy that stock in the first place, then just same dollar amount, same time, every single period, and you should do fine. Another thing I learned, find some small ways to save and reinvest every extra dollar I can. So I'm a big person for side hustling. When I was still living here in Florida before I left as a nomad last year, I had some great side hustles. I was doing a lot of mystery shopping. I had um, at least 3 or 4 days a week. I was mystery shopping on the side and reinvested 100% of that income. Uh, I actually write and host trivia for 4 different restaurants here in Jacksonville. So and that pays pretty good. And plus it's my most fun side gig. And so I invest all that money back into buying shares every week. And matter of fact, I think I'm hosting trivia next week, which will be my last time I'm hosting. Is it possible to increase ROI using options and day trading? Uh, I say yes, but only because from my own experience. The challenge is trying to get the best statistical trade at the time. And so when and again, when I trade, I usually trade in options. So whenever I set a trade, like the ones I did this morning, I'm looking for uh, a certain percentage of probability of profit. So 60%, 70% chance that the trade I set is going to win. I also make sure when I'm trading is that I have a cap on or define the amount of money that I'm risking. So that way I know the maximum amount I'm going to lose and I know how much I'm going to gain. And to increase that probability, I never try to swing for the home run. When I'm trading options, specifically when I'm selling options for income, uh, I define my risk, and I also take my profits at a specific percentage. So, like if I sell an option contract, and this is a great question, by the way, if I sell an option contract for $100, the maximum profit I can get is $100. I never try to go for the max. I try to reduce the amount of time and risk that something can happen by the time I can make that $100, and I instead try just to go for half the profit. So if I sell an option contract for $100, I try to buy it back for 50, and then I'm happy with a 50% return. So sell for 100, buy back for 50, make the 50, and take the money and run. Don't try to go for the whole thing. So again, I'm only speaking from my own personal experience. Yes, it's possible and realistic, but you have to have a playbook that will give you a higher probability that you can win on as many trades more often than not as possible. When you're buying stock, it's a 50-50 shot. It's either going to be higher or lower than what you paid for. Unless you're shorting, then hopefully it's going to be lower than what you borrowed the stock for. But yeah, again, in my experience, it is. But you gotta build a playbook. You have to be able to learn the terminology and all the probabilities and select the platform that'll give you the math to be able to make those decisions too. But yeah, I think you can. I think you can. You're not going to win all the time, but hopefully you can win more often than not. I don't watch baseball, but the analogy is appropriate. I try to go for just a bunch of singles and doubles, but instead of trying to hit a home run, because a lot of people try to go for the home run, whether it's a meme stock or a trade or something that they heard about. But you don't have to do that. You can just take all the little wins, and all these little wins add up, and then and they compound over time. So again, I'm a big side hustler. I reinvest 100% of the side income into dividend stocks. So that way those stocks will pay a dividend, and then I reinvest 100% of those dividends into buying more shares. Another thing is I try to save money. I pay attention to price per pound, price per ounce when buying groceries. I use apps to save on gas. I earn free gift cards by just surfing on the web. Like I earned maybe 10 or 15 bucks in Amazon gift cards for doing about 10 minutes of surfing on Bing. Sign up for free meals on birthdays. I can have like a stack of printed out free stuff from birthdays on the site, and for like the month of February during my birthday, I can eat for free almost all the time, or cheap. So take advantage of stuff. Again, just take it from a frugal individual. Investing in yourself is something that no one can take away from you. So that stays. My best friend, who also teaches, he convinced me I'd make a good teacher because I was making a presentation at City Hall. He and this is my best friend from kindergarten. He saw me there, saw my presentation, says, you'd be a good teacher. So I go, all right, well, tell me more. What do I need to do? So I listened carefully. When I was working my full-time job at City Hall and at the courthouse, I was working, getting my education at nights and weekends, getting my master's, doing my postgraduate classes. I was getting my teacher certification because I wanted to know how to teach. Even though I know my stuff, I also wanted to know how to teach it as well. Because there's teachers that know the material but don't know how to teach, and that's a shame. So I wanted to be able to do both. But it's life-changing. Now that I do this, I get to do something I'm passionate about, but also I can buy my time back. Another thing that I learned, the more stuff that I own, the more tied down I felt. I never realized it until I didn't own as much stuff. Once I started selling a lot of stuff, I actually felt lighter. I grew up in Jacksonville, so I know car culture is something that is needed, but it's not something that I enjoyed. I don't know how many, I mean, people like driving cars in the United States, but when I see that it doesn't have to be that way when I travel, it's very eye-opening, because you think of all the hidden taxes associated with that, with gas prices, insurance, the danger that someone's going to run into you because of someone else's carelessness. Collections, I've been selling a lot of my collections on eBay. Home maintenance is another hidden tax. Safety is another hidden tax, because you got to buy burglar alarm systems. I've been robbed before, and it's not fun. So another lack of walkability, a health cost of that. I've enjoyed living in various cities around the world where I could take a train and let someone else do the driving, or walk everywhere close by, where I don't need to take a whole half hour, 45 minutes just to go shopping. I can just a few minutes to go to the groceries on foot, or take a train somewhere, and I can get that time back. Which brings me to my last point of something that I learned. Time is the most valuable asset you have that you can't get back. So if you think about it, when you're working a job, you're trading your time for money. So what I try to do, which has been my mindset for years, is I try to increase the amount of time that money can buy back for you. So when I earn extra money, or teach extra classes, or do mystery shopping, or all my little side hustles, or reinvest 100% of the dividends that I get back in instead of spending it, then I can replace more active income with passive. That means I get to choose what I do with my time. And that's real financial freedom. Another way I can do it these days as a nomad is through geo arbitrage. So if I'm making my income in dollars, then I can go to places where the dollar just goes further as a digital nomad. So again, hopefully just some thoughts from my brain in no particular order about what I've learned that have shaped personal finance for me. Hopefully you find any of those ideas helpful. And so last on the agenda, I wanted to update you with, and I have a notebook that I put, notepad that I put together with a calendar that I set up in my little notepad about I call it my little dividend wheel. And so every single week, I actually get paid dividends. And so which is pretty cool because you can match it to your bills. Eventually, I'm going to have it matched to bills, but it's just kind of convenient. Most stocks out there pay dividends once a quarter, but if you time it right, you can have certain stocks that'll pay you at certain weeks of the month. And then what I do is for the weeks that I get paid, I'll use it to buy shares of stock that'll pay me in the following week. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do in the chat box, and this since it's recorded, is I'm going to type for you guys what each week looks like for me, and every few weeks or months, this evolves because either I learn of a new stock that pays a dividend, or a dividend I drop because I just don't like how the share price is reacting. So at least for now, here's some of the ones I do each week. So the first week of the month, I get paid from these particular shares. So JEPI, JEPQ, SPYT, QQQT, TSLP, and QDPL, which is one of my newer ones. So this is week 1. And so these are a variety of different strategies in what they invest in. JEPI tracks the S&P 500, which is basically the stock market. JEPQ tracks the NASDAQ 100, which is like your 100 tech stocks. SPYT also tracks the S&P 500 index fund, but it has a 20% dividend goal. QQQT is for the NASDAQ. TSLP tracks Tesla. QDPL, I think, is another NASDAQ one. So I'll take, I receive those dividends in week 1, and then in week 2, I get paid these dividends. So GPIQ, which is tracks the S&P 500, GPIX, but a different strategy. GPIX, which tracks, GPIQ tracks the NASDAQ 100, the tech stocks. GPIX tracks the S&P 500. TDAC, which tracks the NASDAQ, and TSPY tracks the S&P 500. Different strategies, same index that they track, but just different investing strategies for these fund managers. And so I take the week 1 dividends I get paid and I buy these, and these are the ones that I get that pay me in the second week of every month. Week 3, I don't get paid by as many shares. So these 2 stocks pay me in week 3, AAPY and ZVOL. So AAPY tracks Apple specifically, and ZVOL is unique. This one tracks volatility. So the fund manager that does this one tracks volatility. So as volatility goes up and down, this one can actually make money based on that. volatility. And the shares are actually relatively inexpensive, but if you look over the last couple of years, the although the share price has gone down a little bit, I dollar cost averaged this one too, by reinvesting money from week 2 into week 3 into these shares, because ZVol has been super consistent on the dividend payout that they have every month. So I think it's like 48.5 cents per share dividend each month, and they have been super consistent on that. And so over time, as I add shares to ZVol, my average share price has gone down, and I'm still getting the same 48 cents dividend for that one. That's been great. Week 4, so I'll take the week $3 and buy shares of BTCI, PLM, and Perf, and MFLP. So week 4. So BTCI, this one gives me the exposure to Bitcoin, although I have Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, certain times in a cycle, and yes, there's shares of Bitcoin, or the coins of Bitcoin, can beat the market in their cycles. And partially is every 4 years they have an event called the halvening, meaning that the program for the blockchain that Bitcoin sits on, the amount of coins that can be mined with the algorithms actually gets cut in half. So it increases the difficulty of mining it, which theoretically should increase the scarcity of the Bitcoin as well. So this particular ETF is able to monetize that by paying a dividend tracking Bitcoin. CLM, CRF, these are ones that track the market overall, like the SP 500. They have also a relatively close targeted dividend rate as well. These two in particular I treat a little differently. I take the dividends from CLM and CLF and reinvest it right back as a drip program in my Robinhood account, meaning that unlike all the other ones I'm talking about, where I just turn off the dividend reinvestment and just get the cash and choose where the money goes, CLM and CRF, I actually have the cash that those two pay me go back into buying partial shares into those. And the reason why is these two are a little special, and that the fund manager periodically issues stock warrants for the shares of these two stocks. And what that does is it gives you, for the shares that you own, the opportunity to buy additional shares at a discount. So, and I've experienced the stock warrants once, and I bought more shares using the stock warrants that were offered a couple of years ago. So every few years they'll offer stock warrants, and so the more shares I own, the more warrants I'll be allowed to buy at a discount for those shares, which will reduce the average cost I pay for those. And so, so those are two that for week 4. Week 5, and again, I know they're usually 4 weeks in a month, but the reason why I say week 5 is because there are 31 days in each month, and that's where the week 5 payment comes in. These are like the end of the month payers, and so I have 2 SVOL, which is another volatility tracking stock, and SLVO. So SVOL, oh, that's week 5. SVOL, SLVO for week 5. SVOL is a volatility stock, and SLVO, to give me some exposure to hard commodities, that one's silver. I had a gold one, but I didn't like the gold one. I didn't hold down too long just because I didn't like how the share price is doing. Silver has been doing very well, and this one in particular, its dividend is relatively high for the money. Like the last 2 payouts and dividends I got from SLVO, 2 months ago, it was like $7 a share, which is a really fat dividend. and that was really nice. And then this past payout was about $2 a share, which is also still really, really nice. And so I'm dollar cost averaging into that one, get my average share price down, and still getting paid the fat dividend once a month. Now, this final list are stocks after I do the weeks 1 through 5 where I know they get paid. There's a special group of stocks that if I have extra money from the dividends that are paid from these shares, I'll buy additional shares of what are all these weekly payers. And so I'll dollar cost average into these to get my share prices down. And these pay a decent dividend. And I've added and subtracted several over the last few years. And so when I started, there was almost a completely different list of these versus the ones I have now. These have been retained because the price stability of the shares have been not too bad, and the dividend payouts have been more attractive than some other ones that I've taken out. The two newest ones I'm going to add first: AMDW and ARMW. These first two I've added recently because their performance and their dividend have been attractive. One tracks AMD, which is one of the big chip makers, and one ARM, which provides the licensing of chip architecture for about 95% of all the cell phones in the world. So ARM technology. And so these pay dividends each week. FEPI, which didn't used to be a weekly payer, but they recently changed to weekly payer. This one tracks certain large cap stocks in the market. And AIPI is kind of like a similar strategy, except the stocks that they track are ones that are related to artificial intelligence. And so both have done pretty well. Stable share prices for a long time for me. QDTE and XDTE and RDTE. So Q tracks ETFs related to the NASDAQ. X tracks ETFs related to the S&P 500 index fund. And R tracks the Russell 2000, which is the small cap index, so smaller stocks. And the strategies for these three in particular is that they use what are called 0 day to expiration options, meaning that options that expire within 24 hours. So they'll collect their income and then the options expire at the end of the day, and then they keep all the premium income that is collected that day. And so so they use that strategy to generate the income for the dividends. NVDW, AAPW. NVDW tracks NVIDIA's stock. AAPW tracks Apple's stock. Been pretty solid. PLTY, this one's definitely one to dollar cost average. A little more risk, but Palantir, big software company, government contractor. This one pays really attractive dividend, more volatile. So, do your due diligence before you get into that one. But if you're willing to stomach the volatility in the shares, you get paid a pretty decent dividend there. GUI and HUI. GUI is basically tracks Alphabet, so Google, and then HUI, which again a little more volatile, which is why dollar cost average into that one to stabilize your share price. This one tracks Robinhood's stock. MAGY, this one tracks what is nicknamed the Magnificent Seven stocks, so the big boys. So your Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Netflix, NVIDIA, Tesla, so Microsoft. So the Magnificent Seven stocks that one tracks it. Chippy's probably been one of my favorite ones over the past year. Chippy's been great. One of the hottest industries right now are microchips, and this one specifically has a collection of microchip stocks that they track. So like Micron Technology or ASML or NVIDIA or AMD or Seagate or Western Digital. A lot of these chip stocks, this is a tracking for them and is rewarded with a really high dividend, close to $2 or more a month, depending on how the underlying stocks have been doing. NVII, TSII. TSII is a little more volatile because that one tracks Tesla. NVII tracks NVIDIA. SPCI is interesting. I wanted to get some exposure. This one, the underlying shares in this stocks that this one tracks are all related to the space industry. So like Rocket Lab, SpaceX, for example. And then my last one, also more volatile, but again gives me exposure without. And I own Ethereum already, but this one is an Ethereum ETF, YETH. So so this I'll dollar cost average in that one only if there's some extra money. I kind of like Ethereum just because it's a little more efficient in terms of energy usage than Bitcoin is. And Ethereum and Bitcoin are the only two that the SEC approved anyway for the financial institutions to create ETFs for. So Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to be the most liquid for a while. And then at least, and I switched it up last month, but the ones I'm dollar cost averaging with about $100 each month right now are Meta and Alphabet. So a little side note, one thing that most investors don't have an opportunity to invest in is private equity, unless you're a high net worth individual. So usually you got to have net worth of $1 million or more. But Robinhood recently democratized that and opened up private equity for regular investors, which means you could buy partial shares or shares of their private equity. And the two that they just came out with are RVII, which is their venture capital fund number one, and RVI2. So RVI1 has invested in venture capital for companies that are a little more established, like I think OpenAI. I can actually probably look it up, which ones those are. But there are a lot of familiar names in RV1. Let's see. What does it tell me? What's in? Oh yeah, Databricks, OpenAI, Stripe, Canva, SpaceX. So if you don't have the capital to invest in at the time as a venture capitalist into those before they become public, RVI gives you the opportunity to do that. And the share price is relatively not too bad. It's like $28 a share. They're coming out with an RV2, which is unlike their venture capital fund one. RV2 is like some of their beginning stage ones. So these are like on the cutting edge right before they grow and go public. So those go public tomorrow afternoon, I believe. So there's a chance, I think, till the end of the day to try to get in on the shares. I think I put an order for like 3 of them. So again, dipping my toe in. If it takes off, great. If not, it's not going to totally punish me. So RV1 and RV2, again, these are two of the first venture capitalist funds that individual investors can get into. So it's about time to go, but there's some time in case anyone has any questions or comments before we head out. If you're on the email list, then I'll still keep in touch when I'm abroad. Here's a couple of good questions. How do you allocate your investments? Say you have 1,700 long-term, made 70 on 300. What do you do with 70 in stock? Oh, that's a great question. And let me separate it into two buckets. So for my investments, for my long-term, it's all in stocks and ETF, just because my tolerance for risk is higher than most people. Plus, I don't want inflation to ever beat me. So now, that being said, I have emergency cash as well. So a nice thing about having emergency cash is, one, the unexpected will always happen. So it's good to have emergencies, money for emergencies. But two, a side benefit of that is if there's a market downturn, and there will always be a market downturn, rather than drawing down money from your investments when they're losing, you can spend your expenses in cash until the market recovers. So that's okay. So you made 70 on 300. What do you do with the 70? Oh, okay. So bucket number two, the money I made from options, I reinvested about 95% of it. I will redeploy it, is the best way to put it, into another options contract. So today I had several trades, since I automate them, that executed automatically this morning when the market opened and freed up a few thousand in additional capital. I redeployed 100% of that back into new contracts in the same underlying stocks for options. Now, the additional 5%, if I have extra where I can't or don't want to redeploy it back into more options trades, I'll take a portion of that, and I did this several times last month, of my option profits, and I buy the dividend paying stocks. So I've got a spreadsheet with pretty much all the same symbols that I just shared with you, and I have a certain percentage of my option profits that will go into a certain percentage in each one of those, like 6% in GPIQ and GPIX, or 10, 12% or 13% or something like that in JEPI and JPQ, because those are like my anchors. And then I'll put like 2% in Chippy, CHPY, or 1% in NVDW, or 1% in one of those other income pairs. So 95% I redeploy the option income back into more options just to get the snowball compounding effect going. And then when I have a nice nest egg of like 500 or 1,000 from options trading profits, then I'll put, say, 1,000 or 5,000. I have a spreadsheet which will calculate how many dollars in each one it should go to, and then I'll have that passive income in my options trading account too, which will help. Andrew had a question. I have a question about peer review rate. Do I rate my team in inbox? Oh, great question. Peer review. You can two ways my students have done it. Some students type up a Word document and do the peer reviews and just upload the Word document into the assignment. Other students have written their peer reviews right in the comments section for the group project. Yeah, so you could do it either way, which is more comfortable to you. And where am I going to? Great question, Andrew. So I was going to go back to Europe, but then I figure it might be getting colder, I'm pivoting and heading south. So I'm going to spend a few months in Mexico. I got a teacher friend down there. I'm going to stay in her spare bedroom for a month, and then a month in Mexico City. And then I'm going to go to Oaxaca, Mexico, because they have their famous Day of the Dead celebration, which I've never been to, which would be kind of fun. And then from there, spend a month in Panama. It might be the holidays by the time I'm in Panama. So month in Panama, hopefully see the Panama Canal, which would be pretty cool. Never been there. And then heads further south. I'm going to go spend time in Buenos Aires, Argentina, which I've never been. And then I've got a boat booked from Buenos Aires that will land me on a 22-day boat ride from Buenos Aires to England. And then from England, I got nothing booked, but I got a friend who just moved to Spain. and a couple of teacher friends that live in Valencia. So go to Valencia. Maybe there's a famous festival that I've never been to that I'm going to be there. So maybe spend a couple weeks in Spain, and then from there, it's wide open. I eventually want to spend at least a month or more in Albania, but want to travel the Balkans. In May, some friends are going to meet me in Greece, so probably take a ride from Albania to go meet them and spend a couple weeks in Greece, and then from there, uh, head back to the United States. Not sure where in the United States, maybe Jacksonville, for a couple weeks, and then head back to Europe for the rest of the summer, and then the fall, which is the fall and winter, which is the best time to go, be in Southeast Asia. So that's a tentative plan for now, and hopefully start editing my backlog of lots of footage that I need to post to YouTube at some point. I'll have time to do it since I won't be teaching this fall. All right, but yeah, great question. Anybody else have some good questions? Oh yeah, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. It's been amazing so far. I mean, just finished 4 months in Asia, and then before that, I was 4 months in Europe. So several cities, and got more to go. So it's the nice part about being unburdened with stuff, and I only travel with 2 backpacks, so I don't trust the airlines losing my stuff. So I always keep it with me. But then it makes you a little more nimble if you're trying to catch a plane or a train. You don't have to worry about lugging heavy luggage upstairs or on cobblestone streets, and so it makes you a lot lighter. Teaches you to be efficient. So it's been pretty awesome. And every time I meet travelers, and I've met so many travelers who have proven to me that uh, being a nomad is a real thing. They they tell me about cities I've never heard of in my life, and the list of places I want to go keeps growing. All right. So again, I want to respect your time. We are heading into the 1 o'clock time. If there's nothing else, if you're on the email list, then you'll get a copy of the link to the video in case you ever want to watch it later. And I thank you. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you so much. Those of you that have my email or on the email list, feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks, Stephanie. Take care, everybody. Bye bye, everybody.